welcome Josh to Metallarium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Toxik, this new album, this Morta, and more things related to the metal world. Starting with Kevin Christ, how have you been during these crazy times? 2 years ago, started the pandemic. Now we are living a war in Europe. So who knows what happened next couple of years? Alien invasion, zombie apocalypse.
Yeah. Well, at least we got our record out before the apocalypse. You know, it's not all bad. How are you, man? Thank you for having me. We've been great. We used the time. We took the pandemic time down like a lot of other bands and finished up a record that we had been sort of working on for a long time. We got the record done and really got right back out to working or playing, you know, took it out on the road as soon as we could. We just came back from doing a run with Heathen in Europe, had 20 dates back to back, and, you know, starting to work now on the follow-up to Dismorta already, you know, yeah, just staying busy, man.
Okay. So I think the next question will be a common one. So why the band delayed 33 years to release a new album since the last album? Think this.
Well, we put out a bunch of music between. We did put out several EPs, and you know, we've got a box set out there that has them all. We re-released the Wasteland demo. We put out a live DVD. Like, we kept putting out stuff. There's been stuff coming out over the years, just enough to kind of keep us around. And that was never the plan. That's just sort of how it worked out. And now it was time to do a third album. It was just, we'd done enough EPs and enough, you know, fucking around. Excuse my French. It was time to do a record.
Okay. And what did you decide at 1992 to split up the band and now return in 2013 with a new lineup, with a new production? So what kind of motivation did you have to bring back Toxik again?
Well, in 1992, it was a very tough time in the music industry, you know, for not just for Toxik, but for a lot of bands. So our story is like a lot of other people's, and probably you've heard it enough times. Now, what makes it more important now, what makes it actually worth doing, is that we're writing music. I'm writing music, and then the band is writing with me and joining with me. That is, I feel, the best we've done. So why wouldn't we put it out? Yeah, it'd be one thing if we were just sort of coasting and trying to rewrite one of those first two records, but we're not. We're doing what we're doing now, and we're doing it well. And it just felt like it was time. Once Jim and I started working together, James, the drummer, that's 7 years now. Once he came on, it really got serious. Like, that's when I realized, like, okay, let's do this. And we've been touring and playing steadily and doing our thing. And, you know, we've got a killer lineup. We've got a great singer. Everybody's solid, and time to record again.
Okay. Well, Toxik. With Toxik, I heard a few bands that play technical with thrash metal, because I don't know why a few bands play this kind of style. Toxik, Voivod, Vector, yes, Alarum, and a few more. So just two or three more. So why this technical thrash metal since 80s to now are very difficult to spread with more bands?
That's a good question, because it's a really fun kind of music to play. It's a hybrid, you know. It straddles a couple of different worlds, and it's very, in terms of being a musician, it's really fulfilling to play. It's very busy. It takes a lot of concentration. It's, you know, to pull it off live is really intense. So I don't know why more people don't do it. I don't know why more people aren't playing the genre. What's the audience for it, I guess, is what it comes down to. Here's what's funny about that, though. I think there's more of an audience than people think there is for it. And I'll give you a good example of that. Like, when Watchtower puts out a record, it's a big deal. People really like make a big, like, when the last Watchtower record came out, it was in the scene anyway. And again, when I say it's a big deal, I mean it relatively speaking. In the metal scene, in the music scene, when Watchtower comes out with a record, it matters. It makes a difference to people. And there are other bands that are like that play kind of an outside. It's like it's not what everyone else is doing. So there is a market for it, but it just makes its own market. And because of that, it has to be good. You can't really put out half-baked nonsense. You can't really coast. If you're going to do this kind of music, you really got to bring something. Otherwise, you're wasting people's time and it will not work. So I think it's a bit of a testimonial to bands like Toxik that do this kind of music that isn't really popular, that doesn't have a niche necessarily carved out for us, and yet people still come out to see us. I think that speaks for the bands and the music that we play, man.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so and now how was your deal with Massacre Records to bring back a legend like Toxik? It is.
Thank you. Massacre was in our top 3 choices for labels that we wanted to work with. So we were talking to other labels, but when their offer came in, we went right with that and worked it out so that it was good for both of us. Massacre is, I feel, for Toxik, right where we are right now, is probably the best label we could be on. Just because they have the best handle on the market that we're going for. They are cool and they let us do what we want to do. They don't step on our toes artistically at all. And they're super supportive. Like they pulled out our whole catalog. Like they put out all the old Toxik now. So you can get all Toxik in one place. We've never had that before, man. I've always kind of been like a little here and a little there. And it never was like all in one place. Now it is, thanks to Massacre. So yeah, really, really good partnership. Very happy with that.
Okay. Well, you are the last original member from Toxik since 1985. So now you have a whole new lineup. The last one, the more older guy was Jim DeMaria from 2016, the drums. Then Shane, Ron, and Eric will come the next years. So and at what time would you come with this idea to, hey, I need to bring back Toxik again with a new lineup? And what do they think the last lineup from Toxik about the resurrection from Toxik?
Well, this lineup took a couple of years to put together, and it's what makes it especially good for me as the last standing guy in Toxik. Is that the group that I have now is very good at playing our old material. When we play our old stuff, it sounds like the record. Ron nails the vocals. Jim and Shane and Eric have the rhythm section down. So we really sound like the album in a live format, which is super important to us. I love the original lineup of Toxik, but the original lineup of Toxik was really only around for about 5 years, 6 years. And honestly, if I look at that, truthfully, it was really Tad, Brian, and I. We were only together, I think, maybe 4 or 5 years. So at no time was Toxik ever really more than what it is now. I've been with Jim 7 years. He's the longest standing member of Toxik that I've ever worked with. He's been around the longest out of anybody. Shane's right behind him. Shane is here now at 5 years. It'll be 6 years in no time. Even Ron has been around since 2018. Eric being the newest, 2019. Eric was our guitar tech before he's our guitar player. So he's been working with the band already for several years beforehand. So Eric's been around a while too. I know these guys. We're like a family. We travel together. We tour together. We've already all been on multiple continents and we get along. We can play well. A lot of mutual respect. It's very good. Much better than the original Toxik ever traveled. We were great, but we were local guys and we were young and we didn't know how to behave with one another. It's hard when you're young to get out and travel. When you get a little bit older, you're more grateful for what you have. You're more excited and you want to do something. You're out there to do, what you're there to do. So these guys are mature, they got their shit together and we play, we go out and we do our thing.
Oh, okay. So, a subject that got my attention since the beginning is that the band word Toxik, but now the album says word circus, 2 words, think this, 2 words, and now this Morta is 2 words. So what, this decision to put 2 words in an album name is a conscious decision, or perhaps is something happened?
No, I think it's Freudian and it's subconscious. I have no idea why I constantly come up with 2-word titles. I don't know. I've thought of that though. I recognize it, and I actually like two word song titles too. I don't know. There's something to it. I'm not sure. I don't know, but that's just the way it's worked out. Now that you've said that though, for sure, the next record is going to be 1 word. No, no.
Okay, okay, okay. Well, now we will talk about this more again. Well, the Cobra is as usually so war, social aspects into the lyrics of the Toxic world. So in relating to this, we are living now, and well, we are returning back to the 40s and 50s when the people listen just singles and collect singles. So with this, which songs for you are the best way to hear this new album? Which one representative all music in this morta for the new generations talking?
Okay. Are you asking me what song from the record, which songs could be the
Yes,
single?
yes. No. So I'm talking about which song represented all aspects, all concepts to bring the new generation. What the new generation's talking 15 or 20 listen in Spotify, iTunes with 1, 2 songs bands now. So
Yes.
for that, which song represent all
I get
concepts
you.
of this
I understand
album?
what you're saying. I get you what you're saying. You know, it's interesting. That's an interesting question because it really makes me wonder. It makes me think, you know, I don't know that I can point to one song. I'm not sure which one song does that for me on the spot. I guess I would have to think about that. This Mort is pretty eclectic. There's a lot going on. Have you listened to the record?
Yes.
So you know that it's dense. There's a lot there.
Yeah.
So how do you represent that with just one song? I don't know that any one song does that on the record. I would say if I had to pick one song that I think would grab people the quickest, I would say Straight Razor. Only because it's a hyper tempo. It's actually the least political and probably the least to do with the overall arcing concept of what the record's about. But that doesn't really matter to a listener on Spotify. They're hearing a song. Do they like the song? You know, the rest of that stuff is for, you know, people who sit and play with the LP and flip it over in their hands and read it. Yeah, but for the guy who's in his car, the girl that's in her car, in her vehicle, or, you know, on her headphones, in her buds, whatever, you know, it's like, it's got to be catchy, and it has to, and that's so hard. That again, how do you do that with, you know, techie thrash? How do you, you know, like that's like, it's not really given to, you know what I mean? So you make it mean, and yet somehow this stuff still does have a hook to it. So again, I think Straight Razor is the one. I like Straight Razor a lot. I think maybe, I think Creating the Abyss is pretty hot, and we just put out the video for that. I think that song's got a catchy enough, hooky enough rhythm to it. How about you? Do you have a song you think stands out and could do that, represents the record well?
No, I'm from the 80s. I'm the old way. I'm listening to album. I understand all that. That's so I love your first 2 albums. I love this new one. I love Feeding Frenzy. I like Power. I love Straight Racer. I love Devil in the Mirror. So I love all songs, but that's for me it's an album. It's impossible to say just one song represent one album, just song represent the band. For me, it's very difficult because I have a lot of merchandise. I love CDs. So I'm the old guy with old taste. So
yeah.
I don't know why I don't know why the new generation prefers to hear with with songs that I never understand and I will never understand. So that's okay for me.
Well, it's interesting because you more or less just gave the same answer that I did, right? Like it's like I don't know, you know, like it's a whole record. This album was designed that way, you know. We thought about it when we were recording it. You know, we made it so that it doesn't hit you completely on the first listen. You have to listen a few times because then it grows on you.
Yeah. That's one.
I don't mean to interrupt you. I could bring Ron in on this conversation. Would you like to have Ron here?
Well, with us is okay because the interview will start at 2 p.m.
Okay,
but now we start 8 minutes later, and I have to do something at 2:31, 2:35 here, or for you 30:35 more or less.
Okay.
So
yeah.
Continue. Okay. So we're talking about again from this new album. As usually, Toxik bring us a huge masterpiece into the technical thrash metal. So into technical thrash metal. So how do you see the evolution of the band since the beginning? Because we remember World Circus, we remember this with the heavy metal voices, take into there, take there. So I love it. But now you have a more production into the music, especially with the drums parts are more bass, how do you know, more punch in the face than the previous ones. Because when I feel for the freestyle feeding friends is more like a machine, like a punch in the face. So how do you see now the evolution of the band since the beginning to now?
Okay. Well, it's always been a way for me to express myself. So it reflects what I'm feeling at a given time. And I think that the first two records have a sort of childishness about them because I was a much younger person, and they have that boyishness where they're just sort of happy. This record's much more intense. It's much more intentional. It's not so just, wow, look what I found. I didn't find anything. Look what I have. It's a very different perspective that I'm coming at the music from. And then, of course, my mates here in the band as well. These guys are all bringing their sort of what they think and feel into it as well. I think that the record is in a cool way, but I would say that it's actually got a lot of emotion. And that's not something that you would normally assign to this kind of music and this kind of record. So in terms of the evolution of the band, I think we've become more passionate in terms of like what we deliver musically. This lineup, again, I have different people that I'm working with this time around, but the intention is much the same. Like we really are trying to play at the edge of what we can do. We really want to push ourselves musically. We want to bring the listener along. We want somebody to come along and listen to us, like we talked about writing a whole record. The album is a complete statement. But I feel like this time around, what we bring to it is what our living experience brings to our lives. And that's just like, it's very intentional. And it sounds it means business. It's like it's on purpose. It's not like, it doesn't have that like haphazardness about it the way World Circus did. There's a bounce to World Circus where it's kind of like it's bouncing along. You know what I mean? Like it's a cartoon. This is much more grim. This has like a darkness to it. So
yeah. Okay. With your return with the new album after 33 years old, well, I saw a lot of people put their collections in social media, put the returning of Toxik with this mortal. So how do you see this overwhelming return, overwhelming welcome for Toxik to bring a new album?
Well, it's refreshing because no one ever wants to hear anything we're doing. No, I'm kidding. No, it's great. When people are receptive to what you do artistically, it feels wonderful. And like, what's better than that? It rules. I'm really excited to see what it's like once it's out. The response by people such as yourself who've already heard it. It's been very positive. I hope it's as positive once it gets out there. I'm optimistic.
Okay. Well, we are very close to this interview, Josh. And what are the future plans that the band has for this mortar? Perhaps or North American tour. I saw a North American tour, perhaps an incoming European tour, or who knows, a Latin American tour here in the next coming months or next year.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what we want to do. But until the record's out, you really don't know what the offers are going to be. So once the record comes out, then the business will start and we will get to it. Again, I mentioned earlier, we're trying to come up with our follow-up so that we've got a nice, timely follow-up to Dismorta, possibly Dismorta 2, working with the idea of maybe having a second installment. I don't know. There's a couple of different ideas going on here. And this might not happen. It may not, but that's the plan. If we can really get it together and have this ready to mix by Christmas, first of the year, then Massacre can put the follow-up to Dismorta out in August, and we can tour for the next 2 or 3 years. So that's, you know what I mean? Because we're going to tour Dismorta. But if we're out touring Dismorta and then the next one comes out, then we can catch all the festivals 2 or 3 years in a row and really kind of get ourselves back in people's consciousness. Like, I feel like we need to be down in Latin America a few times in the next 2 or 3 years, like not just once, but we need to come down a couple of times and play a lot of shows. We need to kind of get out there, and we're willing to do that. It's what we want to do. So.
Okay. Well, I will ask you about something abstract. because as I said, as I hear in this Morta, is a lot of flavors there, a lot of textures, a lot of flavors and textures, because this is your music since the beginning. So technical, some parts elements, heavy metal, thrash metal, and I think blues and jazz into there a little. So in related to this, perhaps do you hear about the synesthesia matter?
No, no.
Yes. Okay. The synesthesia matter is when the people hearing the music see colors.
Synesthesia. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
Relating to this, what kind of colors, odors, and smells that the listeners will find into this Morta?
Interesting. I have a little synesthesia. I do colors. I do get a little bit of colors. I think there's a lot of blue. I think there's a lot of red in this record. I think that it's again got a lot of passion to it, but it's on the darker side. It's an interesting album. So if you're someone who is interested in interesting music, this will be a good record for you. And it has a lot of colors if you're somebody who's a real listener, you know. But it's overall, I think it's like I said, it's blue and red.
Okay, and talking about the flavors and smells, because when I ask this question,
I don't get flavors and smells so much, but okay, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
What does it smell like? What would they smell? What's the smell they could relate to this? Interesting. Gosh, this food, gunpowder and church wax melting. Candles.
No, okay. Well, I ask this question because your music is very difficult to understand in one way. You need to hear more than 20 times, more than 25, because that's a music that I love. When a music that I love needs to hear more than 25, more than 20 or 30 or 40 times, and I think you can hear more than 100 times and it still got something when never than you listen for the first time. That's a great record. That's for me the new album will be. Well, is it is Morta. So but that's why when I ask this question, many musicians or many artists says that the album smells like coffee in the morning, smell like nature, smell like grass. So well, a lot of crazy. Well, that a lot of people try to say what exactly sounds or what smells or flavors has into this one. So well, Josh, the sad times arrived at this interview. I hope you enjoyed this one as I did, and thank you very much for your time. This new album is a great return for Toxik. I hope many people enjoy like me this new album. I did my pre-order, so I hope arrive soon here. And if not, the opportunity will come to see here when I will go. If not, I will try to see Toxik because you are reunited now again, so it's possible to see now because the last albums I can, so now I can. So perhaps you want to add something to your Latin American fans and Metalerium followers?
Just thank you, of course, as always, for making us relevant. We don't have anything if we don't have someone to listen to our music, and really look forward to get back down and play. Again, some of my favorite audiences, Latin America. It's really, you guys get metal like is passionate there. Some of our best live shows, my personal experiences ever. I will tell you quickly, show in Colombia, and I couldn't get off the stage because it was so packed. Okay, it was so packed that I couldn't get off the stage. So I crowd surfed off the stage, and I went on my hands all the way back to the back of the room, and then let me down, and then I got hugs from about 30, 40 people. You never forget that kind of thing. You know what I mean? You never forget that. So I can't wait to come back down, bring the new record. I hope everybody likes it. I wrote it for you. There's a lot of Latin America in this record lyrically. I'm talking a lot about what went on in this world. Okay, like it's a serious album. It's got a real context there. So, there's a bit of heart. There's a bit of heart in it for the people.